and welcome to another speedy build. Today I'm sharing what's supposed to be an old firehouse that's been converted into a family home, and I'm doing this because there was a day last week when I really wanted to build, but I didn't know what to build. I didn't have a ton of inspiration, so I just wasn't liking anything that I was trying to make. So to try to get some inspiration, I ended up looking in the comment section of a video that I posted at least a year and a half ago. It was the Charleston single build. And the reason I looked in the comment section of that build is because in that video, I asked if anyone had any specific architectural styles in their region, like what the Charleston single is, because that is a very specific kind of house that is only found in Charleston, South Carolina. And I found out about that from a TV show. So I was just wondering if anyone had any other kinds of homes like that for their area. So, or, just for any other kinds of build suggestions in general. So I found a suggestion by She's Not Russian to make something like this, where it's a firehouse that's been converted into a family home. And I saw that comment and I got inspiration. So I knew that I just had to go into the game and try to make something like it. So I ended up looking at a bunch of pictures of firehouse conversions to get an idea for some of the things that people do with these homes and the styles that they go for and the ways that they lay out the builds. So I hodgepodged a bunch of those different things that I saw together, and I had a lot of fun with this build. I couldn't really get across exactly how, I couldn't make this build look exactly how I wanted to because we are limited with what we have in this game. I saw that a lot of these homes still had the garage doors on the front of them, but we don't have garage doors in this game. I mean, we have the ones that came with City Living, but I was trying to make something that felt very upscale with this build, and those garage doors just really didn't go with that vibe. So what I ended up doing was using the Moschino stuff windows, and I was putting them where I imagined the garage doors were, because I did see that rather than keeping those doors, there were some firehouse conversions where they ended up just replacing them with big windows. So I felt like that was the better way to go about that with this build. Unfortunately, the sizing isn't quite right because those windows are 2 tiles wide, which isn't, realistically wouldn't be the same size as those doors, but I wanted to keep this house a bit narrower because I did see that, some of them, I don't know, some of the houses were wider, some of them were narrower, but I just kind of like the look of that really narrow, smaller, old firehouse. So I just decided to go with, that instead. And plus those windows had the kind of look that I wanted them to have. I also wanted this build to look like it was a mixture of keeping the old school charm of the building while making things feel kind of sleek and modern and updated. So I used these windows from Seasons because I was imagining that maybe they were the original windows, but they just painted them black, or, at least the original frames. Or they at least tried to keep the similar style, but made them black windows to make it feel a bit more modern. And I ended up replacing the sliding glass doors that I had on the back side of the build with, I think, the same one that I used on the side there. I think I've done it at this point just because I felt like that was something that looked a bit more charming than just having those sliding glass doors. And it's also something that I think actually looks a little bit higher end than just having sliding glass doors. And I just like the white and black coloring that I used on the windows and doors and the columns and the awning. So you have the awning, which has a more traditional commercial kind of feeling to it, but it being in that white and black swatch kind of gives it a little bit more of a modern vibe. So I really like that. I just wanted to kind of keep some of the look of it being a commercial building. Here I'm just adding some skylights on the roof, so we have some over the master bedroom. We also have some over the stair area because the layout's kind of weird. Normally I would have the 2-floor area above the living room, not above the dining room. But I was looking at some floor plans of firehouse conversions, and I saw that a few of them had that, where that open area was kind of in the middle of the house, and that was something different that I liked. So it's partially above where the dining room is. So I just thought it'd be really nice to have that skylight right above that. So, if you were to be eating at the dining room table, you could just look up and look straight up into the skylight. I feel like that would be really pretty. And I also imagined that that open area was maybe where the fire poles would have been, but they just, they took them out and opened everything up. Because I also saw that some of these firehouse conversions kept the poles, but then other ones removed more of those firehouse details. Like I saw that some of them, they even kept the commercial gas range that was in the kitchen because they couldn't get rid of it, but we don't really quite have that. Or you know what, actually we do have the dinette ones, but I didn't really want to put the dinette ones in here because that would have been way too bulky. But yeah, this is a conversion where they took out more of those Firehouse elements, because I mean we obviously don't have a fire pole in this game, so I couldn't really do that. And I could have put a column in, but with how columns work in the game, it wouldn't have centered in the right spot. So I just decided to not even mess around with trying to keep that. And I also added those spandrels across so that it looks like rafters, because that was something else that I saw in some of these, and I just really love that. I love that it made it feel like this was this really old historic building. So you'll see me putting some more of those in throughout the build. They do kind of get in the way when you have the walls all the way up, but if you put the walls on cutaway, which is how I normally play, then you don't see them at all. So I didn't think that would really be a huge issue for playability, and if they are, you can pretty easily get rid of them. But I just really loved how they looked with the screenshots and how much character that they added to this. So we're on to the interior now, so I'm starting on the furnishing, and for the style, I continued the same thing that I was trying to do with the outside, where it was this mixture of modern with more of an older charm. And I also imagined the family that lives here as being adventurous, so I added a lot of stuff from Island Living and Jungle Adventure to this build. And I was thinking that maybe one of the parents or both of them were Salvadoradian or natives of Salvadorada. So they brought back a lot of stuff from their home country to remind themselves of it. Or, maybe they find really cool stuff on their trips that they like to bring back with them. I don't use that stuff very often, so I had a lot of fun placing all of those different artifacts throughout this build as decoration. And that's something that I definitely have to do more, because there's a lot of really nice stuff that came with Jungle Adventure. Like, there's one of the vases that's an artifact that I think would just look nice in general as a decoration, because I'm always wanting more pottery in this game, because I tend to use those vases that came with Island Living a lot. So that vase that came with Jungle Adventure that you can find in the debug menu has the kind of just general vase look that I've been wanting more of. So yeah, I'm definitely going to remember to use that. I didn't end up adding I forget what it was called, the archaeology station, the thing where they clean off artifacts to this build. I didn't really think there was a good spot to put it, but if you wanted to add one in, then you could pretty easily fit it on the deck that's off of the master bedroom. I ended up putting a yoga mat on that, but I think you get rid of that and fit that item there if you wanted to. I was also adding items around the house that looked like older pictures, like that one picture that looks like it's a sketch of an older building above the stereo, because I was imagining that maybe that was a picture of what this firehouse used to look like, although it's a bit wide for that, but maybe it's a picture of this street or another building in this city that, from around the time this was built, just a historic picture in general. And then I also added some of the ones that came with Get Together that looked like really old pictures, because, I don't know, I just really liked imagining that those were just pictures of this firehouse and people around it in the past, because I'm thinking that maybe this is something that would have been built in the 1800s or the early 1900s. So it's something that is at least 100 years old and just has a lot of history in it, has this whole backstory to it, that having been a firehouse in the past. But here I'm just working on the little entry area, and I just dug cobblestone here because when I was reading one of the articles that I read on these firehouse conversions, I remember one of them saying something about how it had a luxurious, or maybe they didn't say luxurious, but it had a cobblestone entrance. I was like, that's interesting. I think I might just do it and just throw some cobblestone somewhere to just be fancy and a little bit unique with this. So here I'm just trying to add a bunch of these various Jungle Adventure items throughout here. So we got that one next to the fireplace, and I'm just pulling out all of these different artifacts and placing them on these bookshelves that I placed throughout the room. I just also like the idea that this family's also really into reading, and this living room also kind of doubles as their library, where they keep all of the, they keep the numerous books that they have. And I added this shelf here that came with cats and dogs, and I don't know, I like the coloring of it. I liked how it looked in the room, but I wasn't really sure what to put it on because it's kind of an odd oddly shaped shelf. I think what I've done with it in the past is I've raised up that shoe rack and stuck it on top of it, but I had a shoe rack out in the entry area, so it didn't really make sense to stick one in there, so I just settled for sticking that plate on it, which maybe looks a little weird, but it kind of worked, so we just stuck with it. But that is about it for the living room. So here I'm going through and adding some spandrels above here to add to that character. And you'll see it in the fly through, but I think it does look really nice having those spandrels throughout it. So now we're on to the dining room, which is one of my favorite parts of this build. Usually dining rooms aren't my favorite parts of builds. Like, they're usually rooms that I don't like. They're not usually my favorite rooms to furnish. Not that I don't like furnishing them, but I always find them kind of difficult because you stick the table in the center, then you have the corner. So I'm always like, what do I stick in the corner? So I usually just stick a lamp or a plant, try to shove a china cabinet somewhere, maybe stick an additional dining chair there because I don't know what else to put in a corner. But with this one, I stuck this bar here in this little recessed area because when I was looking at pictures, I saw that one of them had a bar like this that was just cluttered up with all this stuff. So that was something that I wanted to try to replicate. So I just added a bunch more of these various artifacts and lamps and, items like that at the top of this. I also ended up raising up some bottles and put them on top of there just to look like it was, stuff that they would mix drinks out of. And I did play test this, and the bar does still work. The only problem is there's a lot of stuff on top of it and it's not slotted. So you might have to kind of like hunt around amongst all the stuff that's there to try to find where the drink was put down if your Sims put it back down on it. But it actually works, which is the most important thing. So over here in this spot, I just turned this into a little office area because there is another room behind this, but I ended up furnishing that as a guest bedroom. So this was kind of the only area that really worked as an office. And I really wanted to use that one desk that came with Discover University, but I got so annoyed because when I put the computers on it, I realized that the mouse and keyboards were going off the edge, and that just bugged me, so I didn't want to use that desk, which is really unfortunate because I feel like that desk is a better version of this desk in terms of how it looks because this is a base game one. So it was made back when the meshes weren't really quite as good, but it still had the right look to it, so it worked out fine. And I stuck a bookcase behind it to further add to that bookworm vibe that this place has, and I did play test it, and they're still able to use the computer perfectly fine. I didn't test if they could use the bookshelf or not because I just figured they're not going to be able to use it, but we have so many other bookshelves in this build that I didn't think it was going to be an issue if there was one that they couldn't actually use. So here I'm just adding more artifact decorations to this cabinet that I stuck over here. I just had a lot of fun using these items that I don't really use very often, and that's the vase there that I was talking about that I really like and want to use more often. But that is it for the dining room area, so I'm just getting a start on, or actually not the kitchen yet, because there is this bathroom that's right here that I need to furnish first. So I just made this one a full bathroom since it's supposed to be like the bathroom for the guest room, so I figured it made sense to have a full bathroom down here rather than making guests go upstairs, use the bathroom up there, although you can't really, you can have overnight guests in The Sims, but it's a different kind of overnight guest than people just staying with you, so none of this really matters. But, just for realism's sake, that was something that I thought worked out pretty well. So something that I did do is that I added a shelf here in the shower because I wanted something there, and I like the idea of that being like a spot they would sit on. How some fancy showers have benches in them. So that's kind of like the bench for that shower area, although it's made of wood, which is maybe not a good idea, but it's The Sims, so these things don't really matter. But we're on to the kitchen now, and I originally had the fridge and stove be red because, it's a firehouse, so I thought, why not add a little red in? That's fun. And I just want to try using one of the more interesting colors that these come in, but I ended up making it so the stove is just regular old gray, but I did keep the orange on the refrigerator. So there is at least one fun colored appliance in this place. Something else that I forgot to mention earlier, even though it's not terribly interesting, is that I made it so the flooring in the living room area was concrete because I was thinking, that's where the truck bay would have been, so you would have had concrete there, I'm assuming. So I like the idea of that being kind of like maybe the original concrete that they polished and fixed up, but they just kind of kept it there to, I don't know, honor the past of this building. I just thought that was something kind of nice to break up the wood floor so you didn't just have the same flooring throughout the whole place. And we also got the concrete here in the kitchen as well. So I did really like using the concrete in this build because I don't really do that too often, and I really like this concrete flooring in particular. We've also got the Jungle Adventure cabinets in here, which I really like and haven't been using a ton recently, so it was nice to use those again. And I really like the style of the interior in this build, because when I was looking at these Firehouse conversions, I saw where some of them were super sleek and modern on the interior, and others were like this where they had some of that charm mixed in. And I just wanted to go with this style because the last build that I did, which was a luxury townhouse, was in that more sterile, very sleek style. So I didn't want to do that again because I don't want to repeat myself too much. And also, that's not really my favorite style to furnish in. As I discussed before, I usually like to have a little bit more charm in my builds, and not that style isn't charming, but I like to have a little bit more of, I like to have things not be perfectly coordinated as much like they are in this build. But we are onto the guest room, which I was trying to give this light and airy look. So we got the white curtains, we got the white bed. I also used that rug from Strangerville, which I thought fit in really nicely in here. And that is a rug that I never really use much, even though it is pretty nice. I don't know, I either just forget about it, or it's a mixture of forgetting about it and also just it not really going with what I'm doing a lot of the time, but I was glad that it fit in with this build pretty well. And since this is a guest bedroom, I didn't really add a ton of clutter to it. I was trying to make it look more like it was neat and put together. So we've got what I'm imagining to be like, those are supposed to be towels, but I'm just imagining that item is extra sheets for the bed. And then we got another vase, we got a plant. That's pretty much it to that. So now we're going upstairs, and up here in this landing area, I'm just adding another table and putting some more of those artifact items on top of that. We also got some pictures that, more pictures that look like they could be older pictures of this town. And I also stuck that picture of a map there because, as I said before, I do see this being a very adventurous family, so they probably travel to more places than just Selva Dorada, so I really like having that map there to show that. So that is about it for that table. I also really like that swatch of that table because I did want to use that to add a little bit more color to this area to try to break up all the browns that are here. And we just got a set of paintings there. I was thinking, the one in the middle looks like it's pictures from the 1800s, but still, I like to imagine that those are family pictures, and if you don't look at it too closely, then it does look like that. And then I was thinking that the one picture to the left there is maybe a picture of some place that they traveled to, and then I think that other one was a map. So that just goes with that whole being adventurous thing that I was talking about. So right now I'm working on the master bedroom, and I really like how this bedroom turned out. It's just very spacious. I was trying to give it this very luxurious, upscale kind of a feel. I didn't really add a ton of clutter in here because I just wanted to have a neater look to it. And plus I always find it a little bit harder to add clutter to bedrooms for adults. Just because the way I see it, the whole house is their space, so they can personalize the house however they want. Their stuff can kind of be spread out, so there's less of it concentrated in their bedroom, whereas for the kids, that room is pretty much the only space they get to personalize, so it tends to have a bit more personality to it. There tends to be a bit more shoved in there, and I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but I furnished the two other bedrooms that are up here as teen bedrooms, because for whatever reason, I didn't really see this being a family that has younger kids. You could definitely travel a lot with younger kids, but with how everything looks, I just kind of, especially since I didn't really add a lot of toys or family type clutter to the lower level, I just thought it made a bit more sense that the kids would be older, it would be teens, and maybe even one of them could be young adult, which I know is what I did. I don't know why I can't talk right today. I know that is what I did in my last build, but this build is at least in a very different style than that one. So I think that's fine. But the only other thing that I added to this room is this little seating area that's over here. So I was just trying to find a couch that I thought fit in. And I had this futon, or not, I guess that's a futon. I had that in there at first, but I just didn't really look right in this room because we've already got a lot of brown in here. So I swapped it out for this one from Island Living, which just looked a lot better. It added more color into the room. It also tied in really nicely with the rug that was on the bed across the room. And here I'm just adding I think it was one of the archaeology books. I just thought that fit in very well, like it was some book about Selva Dorada that they've been reading. I actually didn't really think that much about what careers I saw the parents in that live in this build because I wasn't really getting too specific when thinking about this family, but maybe one or both of them have a job that makes them do a lot of travel, and that's also part of why they travel a lot. I don't know what that job would be. Maybe like a flight attendant, although I know that's not something we have in the game, but as far as things that are actually in the game, I'm not really sure what that could be. Maybe one of them is a business person, like they own a company or are really high up in the company, so they have to do a lot of travel for that, or maybe one of them could even be an engineer, because I know from experience, engineers can actually travel a lot, like especially if you're a mechanical engineer or something like that versus, or like a civil engineer versus just being a computer engineer or in computer science. Because I haven't had to travel too much for work, but I've had to do a bit here and there in the past. I mean, now especially I'm not doing any travel, but I know some engineers who are constantly on the road because it's their job to go to different sites and maintain things. So maybe one of them could be doing that, although that's not really like exciting travel. I don't know, because you're usually just there to go into site, do what you're supposed to do, and then you leave. But I don't know, maybe one of those two things or some other career that's in the game is what they could be doing, or maybe one of them could be an archaeologist, which isn't something that's in the game. I don't know. Like if any of you have any ideas, then let me know in the comments, because it is always really interesting to see your thoughts on this. But we are now into the hall bathroom, which isn't really anything terribly exciting. I use this swatch of this shower tub combo from Parenthood, which I don't really use that often, but I thought it worked because I furnished one of these bedrooms for a sim who's into music. I saw them as aspiring to produce their own music, so I liked having that in there to go with that. So we're working on that bedroom now. So we got this music station that came with Get Famous. I also added an amp and a few guitars to go with that. And other than that, there's not really too much more to this room other than the general stuff that I put in bedrooms. Like we've got a bed, obviously. We got the Lindsay speaker there. We've got a tablet. I also stick a desk. I forget, did they end up making it so that stereo item or that amp item that came with the Moschino stuff was functional? Because I think I remember them saying something about they made it so it was actually a speaker. I could be wrong on that though. But on another Sims content note, how are you all feeling about this upcoming community stuff pack for knitting? I am personally intrigued. I guess I would say I'm not like over the moon excited about it, but I'm not like disappointed and not at all interested either. Like I'm interested. I'm looking forward to learning more about it, because we did just have the vote for the name, because I think there was, hold on, I forget what all the names were, but I know it was like Cozy Knits. That's what I voted for. I know it's basic, but I liked it the most. There was also Love to Knit, which cracked me up because it was like LUV to knit. Rockin' Knits, I think, was one of the other ones. I don't know. I don't remember what the other ones were, and I'm not going to sit here and try to look it up. But yeah, that happened. And I also saw that there's going to be an Etsy-like thing in the game, which sounds really neat. So you could sell the stuff that your Sims craft, which just sounds really cool. I'm glad that they're putting that into this pack. And I also I don't know, I also like the idea of Sims having more like cool things that they can make. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about this. But we don't have too much more to do with this room. I'm just trying to figure out the clutter, and then I've got to put up all the wall decorations, and that is pretty much it that there is to this room. On this side of the room, we just have some posters kind of messily put up on the wall, but the other side of the room definitely has some more structured wall decorations. So over there, oh yeah, I did replace the guitar thing with that Strangerville painting, but then I just swapped that back out for this because I wasn't really feeling that one. And apart from that, we just have some shelves that I added these items or these doll decorations that came with Discover University too, along with some My Sim dolls. So kind of like what I did in the last build that I did where I stuck a bunch of these on a bookshelf. I just had a lot of fun with that, so I wanted to do something kind of like that for this build. And it just made the different sizes, so it looked like different sizes of the same thing, like they just kind of collected that stuff. But that is it for that room. So we're on to the other teen bedroom. And this one I made for a sim who was into photography, and I also thought maybe robotics or computer science just to kind of mix those two things together, because I ended up sticking one of those robot projects from Parenthood on the desk and a computer science textbook, so I thought, you know, maybe they're into one of those two things in addition to photography. And I definitely like this room more than the last one that I did. I stuck this chair here at the desk, and I ended up changing the swatch of it to red, which isn't a choice I would normally make. Like, I don't think I've ever used the red swatch of this chair before, but I really liked how it looked in this room, and I was trying to use some different swatches of things in this build. So I definitely need to use the more colorful swatches of this chair in the future and just play around with that some more. But above the desk, I just added that one picture item or picture frame item so that they could put some pictures that they've taken in there. And then we also got some postcards over there. And here just adding that robot in that I was talking about and trying to figure out what else there was that I could stick above there. So there's that textbook that I was mentioning. I at first had those cyber glasses that came with Discover University there, but I took those away because I didn't want to make the top of the desk too cluttered. And on the other side of the room here, we just have a wall-mounted TV and a dresser. So above that, we just have some standard desk clutter type items. Added some magazines there. I thought that was kind of fun. We also got that one camera decoration that came with Moschino stuff just to look like yet another camera that's sitting here in this room. I also sized down that one palm plant and then raised it up on top of the dresser. I really like that plant, and in addition to looking good, you know, just being on the floor as it's supposed to be used, it also looks really nice when you size it down and put it up on tables like that. But that is about it for that bedroom. So here I'm just adding some more spandrels to these rooms. And after that, I still need to finish up the outside of the build. Normally, I do the entire outside first and then move on to the furnishing, but I wanted to get a feel for the interior of this build before working on the outside, because my plan was to use some of those shell buildings that came with Discover University that you can find in the debug menu around this, rather than just building shells, because, I don't know, I think it works a little bit better. Like, they don't look quite as defined as actually building something would look, but it is a little bit easier just to have something that you can slap down that already looks like a full build, and also that way you don't have all of this empty interior space. And I did get the idea to do that from Freezer Bunny, because I saw that he had done that in a few of his builds, and that was not something that I had thought of doing, so thank you to him for giving me that idea. And in case you haven't heard of him, his channel is really awesome. He does a lot of really amazing detailed builds. So I'll try to remember to leave a link to his description, I was gonna say link to his description in the channel below, but no. I'll link to his channel in the description below, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to and you haven't seen his channel before. But here I'm just working on putting a dining chair, or why am I mixing my words so much today? I always do this. I always mix up tables and chairs for some reason. But anyway, we're sticking that down there. And apart from that, I ended up turning that narrow area down the side of the building into a garden because I couldn't really think of what else to do with that space. So I thought it worked really nicely to just make it this kind of magical narrow garden. So we've got that arch going into it, and then we also got these string lights going above it. So it just looks really nice when it's all lit up at night. And I also added this pavement, or this terrain paint here that just looks like some pebbles, which I thought kind of added to that fairy tale or, that magical feeling a bit. So I did take the time to add in some harvestables there, so they should be there when you go to download this build. Hopefully that's fine. I mean, if you don't like what I planted, then you can always just get rid of it and replace it with whatever you want. But whenever I do gardens like that, I always like to just add in plants anyway, so it's just kind of there and done, so you don't have to worry about it yourself, and also makes the build look like more of a finished product than just having a bunch of empty dirt. So here I'm just finishing up doing that, and that is about it for the areas that are the outdoor areas that are directly tied to the build. So I still have to go through. Oh yeah, I also stuck a mailbox there instead of one of the apartment mailboxes there instead of the actual mailbox, which I do believe will work fine as a mailbox. I just thought that fit in a little bit better than having a regular mailbox. But here I've got those shell buildings in. So I just did some really quick landscaping. I didn't really put the attention to detail into it that I normally would put into landscaping. I just kind of slapped down some stuff to make it look semi-complete because I didn't want to sit there and spend a ton of time doing it. But I didn't want it to just be an empty patch of grass back there or a bunch of pavement back there. So I just wanted to at least do something to make it feel a little bit more complete. But the last thing I'm doing here is just adding some items to, just some items you would typically see on a street to make it feel a bit more detailed. But that is about it for the building part of this video. So as usual, there will be a link to download this in the description. There will be other stuff in there, how to find in-game, and that's going to be it for me. So we enjoy the rest of the video.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me. No, no, nothing can break me. Try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me. No, no, nothing can break me. I wanna drive a faster car. Lay my troubles to rest. Blow the smoke through my cigarette. City lights looking fine, and I know this is my time now. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me. No, no, nothing can break me. Try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Nothing can break me, no, no, nothing can break me. Look at the beautiful stars, I wanna drive a faster car. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. Try Nothing can break me.